Hey everyone, What If Fan here, bringing you another exciting part of What If Reborn as Gohan in future timeline. You can find the fanfic title and the original author's name on my Patreon page. Make sure to check it out and show them some love. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. Alright, let's jump into it. Chapter 201. Kaka. Kaka wrote. Vegeta's extremely weak voice sounded, with a slight choke to it. Goku also turned around with difficulty. Vegeta's hand was pressed on the ground, his fingers trembling slightly, as if he was grasping something with force. Avenge me and Trunks. I can't promise you, Vegeta, Goku murmured. Because he couldn't beat Gas either. You're not going to die, Vegeta. You have to avenge Trunks yourself. But Gas had already begun attacking them again, laughing loudly. Ha ha ha, how dare you stop fighting? You will all die. He looked like red lightning as he rushed towards Goku and Vegeta. At the same time, Broly's green figure suddenly rushed out, blocking his path and struggling with him. Vegeta, let's go. Goku grabbed Vegeta with one hand and used instant transmission to teleport to where everyone else was. Quick, Senzu, Goku shouted. Vegeta was about to die. Goten quickly handed over the bag of Senzu beans. Goku quickly opened the bag, took out a Senzu bean, and immediately stuffed one into Vegeta's mouth. Vegeta, who was still breathing heavily and bleeding profusely from his shoulder, had his consciousness already fading. He felt something being stuffed into his mouth, his Adam's apple slid, and he swallowed subconsciously. When Goku saw Vegeta swallow the Senzu bean, he took out another, raised his head, and ate it in one gulp. As the Senzu beans entered his stomach, his injuries healed in an instant. Goku sat cross-legged on the ground and sighed in relief. Vegeta, who had been on the brink of death, sat up with a complicated expression. He had been saved from death, triggering the Saiyan ability to grow stronger after recovering from injury. Vegeta clenched his fists and found that his strength had increased significantly. This narrowed the gap between him, Goku, and Broly. However, this kind of power-up was still insufficient. It wasn't enough to make him Gas's equal. They needed to find a way. But what could they do to defeat Gas? As Vegeta thought calmly, Yamcha, standing next to him, asked, Goku, what should we do now? What should we do? I actually have an idea. Goku looked at Vegeta and frowned. What is it? Vegeta asked quickly. Kakarot, who usually never thinks things through, had actually come up with a plan. It was truly unexpected. Everyone waited for Goku's answer. Even Beerus and Whis looked over curiously. Beerus thought to himself, Goku doesn't want me to step in, does he? If he asks me, I might make an exception for the sake of food. Ahem. But it's nothing. Here it is, Goku said with confidence. When I was in hell, I met a friend from the Metamorans planet who taught me a move called fusion. Two people with similar ki can merge into a new, powerful warrior by performing specific dance steps. If Vegeta is willing to fuse with me, defeating that guy would be a piece of cake. Vegeta looked confused. Fuse with Kakarot? Wouldn't that cost him his dignity? Whis laughed and said, Ha, I've heard of this technique. It's indeed a good idea. Goku said, did you hear that? Vegeta, Mr. Whis said it's a good idea. Vegeta replied, I don't want it. I'd rather be killed by that guy. Vegeta, what are you talking about? Didn't you just say you wanted me to avenge Trunks? Now we have a way to do it. And think about it, after we're defeated, the Earth will be destroyed by him. He'll also kill Bulma and Bulla. After listening to Goku's words, Vegeta's face turned pale as if he'd been slapped. That's right, Vegeta. Let's see how strong a fusion warrior really is. You don't want Bulma and Bulla to be killed, do you? We're all begging you. Everyone began persuading Vegeta. Vegeta clenched his fists, veins popping on his forehead. "Shut up, all of you," he yelled. In the distance, Gas and Broly were still fighting. Gas had the upper hand, pushing Broly back, and Broly was covered in scars. Originally, if Gas hadn't released his seal, Broly and Goku would have had a chance to defeat him. But when Gas released his full power and his fighting instincts, his strength reached a new level. Neither Broly nor Goku was a match for him. He was the strongest warrior in the universe. Whether in strength, endurance, skill, or recovery, he was unmatched. He fought like a perpetual motion machine, seemingly never tiring, making it difficult to win against him. Only by overwhelming power could they hope to prevail. Looking at Broly being beaten down. Thinking of Bulma and Bulla waiting for him at home. Thinking of Trunks, who had been killed by Gas. Vegeta clenched his fists so hard his fingers turned blue. He tensed up and said, "For once, Kakarot, let's do it." "Great." Goku jumped up, joy spreading across his face. "Vegeta, this fusion technique is actually very simple. As I said earlier, there are only two conditions. First, we have to control our ki to the same intensity. That's easy for us. Second, we perform the fusion dance correctly. It's simple, just copy my moves. But remember, if you get any part wrong, the fusion will fail, and we might end up creating a failed warrior. Not only will we not be able to defeat that guy, but we'll also get beaten up. And, we only have 30 minutes before the fusion disintegrates. I'm not sure we'll have another chance to fuse. Stop talking nonsense and teach me the so-called fusion dance," Vegeta said proudly, crossing his arms. "Ah, okay." Goku responded quickly, then made a strange movement. Seeing this, Vegeta's face fell. He agreed too quickly. This dance looked ridiculous. "Fu." Goku began, making a series of strange movements. Shaun. Everyone. Chapter 202. What an ugly move this is. Krillin even felt a long-dead memory resurface, reminding him of the Jinya Force's absurd poses from Namek more than 20 years ago. Many people couldn't help but hold their foreheads. Vegeta's face was as dark as the bottom of a pot. Probably the only one who found it cool was Goten, whose eyes were sparkling. He tugged on Sun Tzu's sleeve. "Sun Tzu, how about we give it a try? Little uncle, it's better to give up. I find it difficult." The corners of Sun Tzu's mouth twitched as he shook his head, repeatedly refusing. "No, I think it's easy." "Sun Tzu, you're a little smarter than me. Why do you think it's difficult?" "Well, maybe I'm not good at dancing." "Then don't think of it as dancing. Think of it as a martial arts move." "Damn it, Uncle Goten, stop begging." Sun Tzu blared at Goten, cursing in his mind. Vegeta's mouth also twitched. But there was no choice, he had to fulfill his promise. He had never been one to break his word. So, he squirmed like an earthworm. At first, the onlookers thought the dance was truly ugly, but the more they watched, the more amusing it became. It was especially entertaining to see Vegeta's face turn red and black with each awkward movement. If looks could kill, Kakarot would have been riddled with holes by Vegeta's glare at that moment. But they couldn't deny that Vegeta's learning ability was impressive. He had watched Goku's movements only once and memorized them all. When he performed the moves, they were spot on. In this regard, Goku praised him generously. "Wow, Vegeta, you're amazing. It took me a long time to learn this, but you got it just by watching once." Vegeta straightened his back subtly and said, "Nonsense. Do you think everyone is as stupid as you? If we did the same training, I'd be better than you." "Ah, you're probably right," Goku nodded, unfazed. "Let's try it quickly. We won't adjust our ki just yet, let's get the movements right first," Goku said hurriedly, his anxiety mounting as Broly continued taking hits. "Yeah." Vegeta nodded. The two stood side by side, 2 meters apart, and began practicing the fusion movements. Fu. Shaun. Fu. Shaun. After practicing twice, they felt confident there were no issues. "Okay, no problem. Now, let's adjust our ki to match, and then we'll officially fuse. Vegeta remains silent. Adjusting their ki was simple for both of them. After all, they were martial arts geniuses, and their control over their breath was flawless. In contrast to their calmness, the spectators swallowed nervously, clearly more anxious than the two warriors themselves. Even Beerus, the god of destruction, and Whis watched with interest, looking forward to the successful fusion. In just a few seconds, Goku and Vegeta finished adjusting their ki to match perfectly. They stood 2 meters apart, side by side. Alright, let's start. Krillin waved his arms to direct them. Fu! Goku and Vegeta said simultaneously, stepping into the fusion dance. Shaun! As they finished the word, their bodies tilted, and their 4 index fingers touched. Buzz! Suddenly, Goku and Vegeta's bodies burst into brilliant light. They became transparent, their bodies crossing and merging. A dazzling light exploded, like a small sun, blinding everyone and making it impossible to look directly. Gas knocked Broly away with a punch, then looked over and asked blankly, "What is that?" Staring at the dazzling light, he felt a sense of foreboding. "Don't get distracted, your opponent is me," Broly rushed back at him. At this point, Broly's ki had weakened, and blood dripped from his head, but his fighting spirit remained as fierce as ever. Enough of this farce. "I won't play with you anymore," Gas said, raising his hand to suspend Broly in the air. In that instant, the surrounding space seemed to freeze. Broly's movements slowed. In his stunned eyes, Gas's fist expanded, and he punched the top of Broly's head. Boom! Broly's body was hurled away. The blow to his head left him dazed. Although he wasn't dead, his limbs grew numb as he crashed into the ground, kicking up clouds of smoke. At the same time, the light from Goku and Vegeta's fusion dimmed and disappeared. A tall, powerful figure emerged from the light, entering everyone's view. He was dressed in a black vest with yellow sides, white pants, black shoes, and a blue belt. His handsome face resembled both Goku and Vegeta. With his black hair standing up and a strand of bangs hanging in front of his forehead, he looked somewhat similar to Gohan. He clenched his fists, his bones crackling. On that stern face, the corners of his mouth lifted slightly, revealing a confident smile. Everyone's eyes widened as they stared at this fusion warrior in disbelief. "You actually succeeded in fusing?" Krillin asked in surprise. "Yamcha, this is incredible. Just looking at him, I know we'll win this time." "Ha ha. Goku? No, Vegeta? No, that's not right. He's so powerful." Tien stammered, unsure what to call him. Kaiatsu asked politely, "Hello, what's your name?" The warrior grinned and said, "I am neither Goku nor Vegeta. I am the warrior born from their fusion. Gogeta." "Wow, so awesome!" Goten exclaimed. "Sun Tzu, did you see that? He's really amazing. Let's fuse too. We'll definitely be awesome." I saw it." "Then let's fuse," Goten said, his eyes bright with excitement. "Maybe later." Sun Tzu thought of the weird dance and waved his hand dismissively. Gogeta glanced at everyone and said, "Okay, everyone, wait here while I finish off that guy." Boom! Gogeta's body erupted with silver ki as he soared into the sky, flying toward Gas. "What a confident guy," Beerus said, pinching his chin. Whis chuckled, "Ho ho ho, indeed." "Suddenly, I want to fight him," Beerus said. On the other side, Gogeta landed in front of Gas, hands on his hips, looking at him confidently. For some reason, Gas felt a pang of fear when he looked at Gogeta, instinctively taking half a step back. "Who are you?" Gas asked coldly, glaring at Gogeta. Gogeta replied, "I'm the one who's about to defeat you." Chapter 203. Gas sneered, "Oh, you want to defeat me? What an outlandish dream." He said this as he threw a punch at Gogeta. Gogeta grinned and sidestepped to avoid the punch. "Damn it, you are not allowed to make that expression." Gas was furious. Gogeta's confident expression reminded him of Bardock from more than 50 years ago. The old Bardock had also smiled at him like that. He wouldn't allow this to happen again. Gogeta clenched his fists and, ignoring Gas's threats, said, "It's better to become a Super Saiyan first. It seems I can't beat him like this." As he spoke, Gogeta's whole body shook, his energy surged, and Golden Ki burst out as he transformed into a blonde Super Saiyan. Gas, enraged, attacked Gogeta again. He stomped hard, his legs exerting force as the earth collapsed beneath him, and his body quickly launched toward Gogeta. The muscles in Gas's arms swelled with terrifying power. Seeing that Gogeta remained motionless, seemingly unaware of the attack, Gas felt a surge of triumph. This fool, he thought. He could already imagine Gogeta being struck by his fist, kneeling, convulsing, and vomiting blood. It would be so satisfying. Die! Gas's fists rained down like a storm. Boom, boom, boom. The force of his punches whipped up a storm, shattering the air with crackling sound waves. But something was wrong. Gas hadn't landed a single hit. Gogeta moved nimbly, dodging every punch. How could this be? Absurd. Ridiculous. I'm the strongest warrior in the universe. Ah! Gas roared as purple flames burst from his body, lightning crackling around him, and his ki grew even stronger. However, he hadn't noticed the subtle signs of aging creeping across his face. The power he wielded was obtained by squeezing his lifespan. By forcibly removing his limitations and releasing the seal, he had accelerated the burning of his life, hastening his physical aging. Gas originally had 2 years to live, but now no one could be sure. Die, die, die. Gas attacked again, even more violently than before. Gogeta dodged. Bang, bang, bang. Gas thought he had finally landed a blow. Gogeta was hit several times, his body thrown backward. The spectators were even more anxious than Gas. He was tricked? Stop fooling around, Gogeta. Become Super Saiyan Blue already. You can't beat him like this. Saiyans must have something wrong with their brains. Even in fusion, they have this flaw. Ha 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 ha. Gas laughed as he rushed toward the place where Gogeta had fallen, eager to pursue his victory. Suddenly, boom! A blue light erupted in front of him, expanding rapidly and shooting straight into the sky. Gogeta emerged from the flames. His whole body was now enveloped in blue ki, his hair and eyebrows turned dark blue, and his power had reached a new level. Gas glanced at Gogeta in shock, then sneered, "So what if you turn blue? Even if you turn silver or purple, you'll still end up in failure and die." Gas's body transformed into purple lightning, and his powerful fist struck out again. Boom! The fist connected with Gogeta's muscular abdomen. The air exploded, sending waves of ki rippling outward in all directions. But Gas's sneer froze. Something was wrong, it felt like his fist had hit an immovable piece of metal. He hadn't made a dent. No movement at all. Gas raised his head in shock, only to be met with Gogeta's ever-confident expression. "Thanks for the massage. Would you mind doing my shoulders next?" Gogeta pointed to his shoulder, grinning playfully. Looking down on me?" Gas's teeth clenched so tightly they almost shattered, and his ki surged violently. "Damn it! Damn monkey!" Gas took a deep breath, his arms swelling even further as he threw punch after punch at Gogeta. Bang bang! Another wave of violent energy exploded outward. The strong wind generated by the force almost knocked the spectators off their feet. But Gogeta remained completely unmoved. Only his blue belt swayed slightly in the gust. "Hey, I asked for a shoulder massage. Why do you keep hitting my stomach?" Gogeta teased. "Why you, damn it!" Gas gritted his teeth and unleashed a barrage of punches at Gogeta, hitting from all directions, whether abdomen, shoulders, or elsewhere. Bang 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 bang! Fists like a violent storm transformed into dense shadows, instantly enveloping Gogeta. Every blow, capable of leveling the earth, landed on Gogeta. But nothing happened. Gogeta stood as if rooted to the ground. the attacks had no effect at all. The spectators were stunned. It was hard to believe. He's so strong, terrifyingly powerful. Goku was right, he's an incredible warrior. Broly, who had crawled out of the rubble, was equally shocked. He had watched Goku and Vegeta fuse and understood the power of gas firsthand. He had been fighting gas for a long time, knowing just how terrifyingly strong gas was. And now, Gogeta was standing firm while Gas's attacks had no effect. Could Broly not be shocked? After that ferocious assault, Gas stopped, staring blankly at Gogeta, his mind flooded with questions. What is the strongest warrior in the universe? At that moment, Gas saw Gogeta smile again, the same confident smile. Gas's rage reignited. He clenched his fists, his anger boiling. Gogeta grinned, "Are you tired of massaging me? Now it's my turn." Gas froze. A chilling sensation rose from his feet and swept through his entire body in an instant. His forehead grew cold, and his mind buzzed. Gogeta's fist enlarged in Gas's vision. Then, Gogeta's left hand grasped his hair tightly. With his right fist, he struck Gas's abdomen hard, faster than the speed of light. Boom! Gas's body was flung into the air by the punch. But since Gogeta still held his hair, he bounced back like a yo-yo. Bang bang! 2 more punches. Puffed. Gas's face turned red as he coughed up a mouthful of blood. He felt his internal organs shift inside him, almost displaced by the blows. Chapter 204. Let me go, Gas struggled. Okay, I will let you, Gogeta said, pressing a ki blast directly to his chest. At the same time, he released his left hand, letting a handful of purple hair fall from his palm. Gas was pushed away by the ki blast, flying into the distance, and then there was a huge explosion. The sound was earth-shattering. Everyone watching couldn't help but swallow hard. The battle unfolding before them was completely different from the fierce fight they had imagined. It was a one-sided crush by Gogeta. Gas was no match for him. It could be said there was no way for him to fight back. In the explosion's aftermath, Gas didn't die, but his body was scarred, and his face was twisted in rage. He didn't even realize he had lost much of his flesh. His appearance had also aged. Ha, damn monkey. Ah! Unforgivable, damn Saiyan monkey. I am number 1 in the universe, and my power is far more than this. I will bring the Heater family to the top of the universe, and I will make Elec the emperor of this universe. How could I collapse here? No, I can't, absolutely not, I can still get stronger. Ah! Gas roared and charged forward. By now, his clothes had long been turned to dust. Chunks of flesh had been blown off by the explosion of the ki blast, exposing the white bones of his right wrist. Compared to the powerful body he had moments ago, he had shrunk, with veins protruding all over, making him look like he was about to explode. But even in this pitiful state, his ki had not weakened, in fact, it had grown stronger due to his madness. Kill, I'm going to kill you, damn Saiyan monkey. He stared at Gogeta fiercely, his body turning into an afterimage as he charged forward. Gogeta frowned, "You're really noisy." Boom! Gas clasped his hands together and launched a powerful ki blast at Gogeta's face. Gogeta's leg muscles swelled as he kicked out. The ki blast was deflected, soaring into the sky, where it exploded in space. Gas didn't stop. He swung his fists, attacking furiously. By now, he was completely crazed, his ki wrapped around his fists. The energy around his fists had grown to the size of a train, and the sheer momentum was frightening. But he was facing Gogeta. Gogeta stood there, blocking Gas's punches with one hand, swatting away each fist effortlessly. Seeing that his punches were useless, Gas flew into the air. His legs erupted with ki as he smashed down. Suddenly, Gogeta's legs were engulfed in purple shadows, and the sound of the collision spread far and wide. Even the aftermath of the ki made the shattered earth tremble. At that moment, a spaceship broke through the Earth's atmosphere and landed. Maruz jumped out of the spaceship and stared in shock at the ki explosions in the sky. He couldn't figure out who was fighting gas. Such strong ki fluctuations. It had completely reached the level of a god of destruction. Meruz had been worried about gas, fearing he would go around killing and causing destruction. So, after his defeat, Meruz had followed him. Meruz murmured to himself, "What powerful ki! Is Mr. Gohan back? But this ki doesn't feel like Mr. Gohan's at all. Hey, is Brother Whis here too?" He felt nervous and didn't really want to meet the brother he'd never seen before. But his curiosity about the battle made him fly over. Whis, seeing Meruz approaching, smiled meaningfully. In that smile, it was clear that Whis had known Meruz was coming. Meruz could only nod with a polite smile but said nothing, his attention on the battlefield. "Ha? Someone's coming?" Meruz suddenly raised his head. He saw a white light descending from the sky, and familiar ki fluctuations came with it. The white light landed steadily beside Beerus and Whis. The figures of Gohan and Vados appeared. Sister and Mr. Gohan? Meruz's nervousness increased. Steadying himself, Gohan quickly walked toward Videl and his children. Videl, Pan, and Sun Tzu saw Gohan return. Suddenly, all their pent-up emotions burst forth. Their eyes misted over as they ran toward Gohan. Videl's voice trembled. Before Gohan arrived, she hadn't felt anything. But now, seeing him, she couldn't hold back. "Gohan! Daddy, Daddy!" Pan and Sun Tzu clung to his legs. Gohan hugged Videl tightly. It's okay," he said, gently patting her shoulder. Pan and Sun Tzu each held onto one of his legs. "All right," Gohan said, releasing Videl. He placed his palms on the two children's heads, gently ruffling their soft hair. "Dad saw everything. You both did a great job." "Ah, Dad could see us?" Pan and Sun Tzu both said in surprise. "Ha, of course." Gohan had watched everything through Vados's magic ball on the way there. In fact, even without Vados's help, Gohan could have read their memories by touching their heads. But he usually avoided invading others' privacy unless necessary. "Goten, come over here." "What are you doing?" Sun Tzu called. Goten, who had been standing timidly aside, ran over. "Brother, Trunks, seems to have been killed by that bad guy," Goten said, lowering his head. "Yes, we will avenge him and use the Dragon Balls to bring him back," Gohan said seriously to Goten. He could see that Goten was deeply affected by Trunks' death. Gohan rubbed Goten's head affectionately. After hearing Gohan's words, Goten sighed in relief and smiled again. The Z-warriors gathered around Gohan, asking questions. Some asked where he'd been recently, and others wanted to know about the battle. But regardless, the atmosphere had lightened. It was no longer filled with despair. Gohan looked around at the dilapidated earth and turned to Beerus. "Lord Beerus, are you responsible for this?" What does this have to do with me?" Beerus jumped as if his tail had been stepped on. "Ha, if you hadn't left me in the 6th universe, would Earth be like this? And now you say it's not your fault?" Chapter 205. Ho ho ho. Watching the two bicker, Whis covered his mouth and chuckled. Then, turning to Vados, she whispered, "Sister, look at that person over there." She cast another look in Meruz's direction. Vados listened and followed her gaze. "Ha? Who is he? Is this our younger brother?" Vados was momentarily stunned. She had not met Meruz before. But from Meruz's body, she could sense a faint trace of angelic ki. Although Meruz tried his best to hide it and pretend to be immortal, there was no way to conceal it from Whis and Vados. Whis nodded. "Yes, it seems the Grand Priest sent our brother, whom we've never met, to the mortal world to gain experience. He chose our 7th universe. Oh ho ho, do you want to look after him?" Vados teased. "Already taken care of." "Oh? You've already taken care of it?" Vados's eyes darted between Whis and Meruz. Meanwhile, Gohan had stopped bickering with Beerus and was now watching the battle between Gogeta and Gas intently. "Gogeta! In his memory, every time Gogeta appeared, he was unstoppable, crushing his opponents with an invincible attitude. He always said that catchphrase, "I am neither Son Goku nor Vegeta, but the one who will defeat you." Although Gohan had never met Gogeta in person, the fusion warrior had left an impression. After all, he was a fusion warrior. Speaking of the Metamoran fusion technique, Gohan knew it well. Before Goku was resurrected, Goku had taught Gohan the fusion dance in the Supreme Kai realm. But Gohan had never used it. There was never an opportunity. No opponent had ever forced him to use the fusion dance to become a fusion warrior. Watching the battle now, Gohan admired Gogeta's strength. He thought to himself, "I've seen Gogeta, but I wonder how strong Vegito is. I hope I get the chance to see that." On the battlefield, Gas had become even thinner. Now, he looked like a mummy, his vitality collapsing, and his hair had changed from purple to yellow. His eyes were sunken as he shouted crazily, completely unaware of his deteriorating physical condition. The muscles on his right arm were almost gone, leaving only bones, but he continued to fight. He no longer looked like a living person. At this moment, Gogeta crossed his arms and dodged Gas's attacks. Gas's attacks were more erratic and crazed than ever before. "Ha!" Gas shouted, reaching into the air, trying to control Gogeta with his space confinement technique. This trick had worked on Goku, Vegeta, and Broly, immobilizing them and leaving them at Gas's mercy. But now, he was shocked to find that this technique didn't work on Gogeta. He couldn't control Gogeta at all. Impossible, absolutely impossible. Gas yelled in disbelief. Gogeta grinned. "What's impossible? It's entirely possible." With a few rapid punches, too fast for the naked eye, Gogeta struck Gas multiple times. Bang bang bang. A series of air explosions followed. Gas's body was thrown around like a ragdoll. To the spectators, it looked like Gas was twitching uncontrollably. They couldn't even see when Gogeta's fists were landing. "Damn it! Damn it! I'm going to kill you!" Gas's entire body trembled as he screamed in frustration. Then, his already mummy-like frame suddenly expanded, returning to his muscular form. He had squeezed out the last of his life force, detonating his most powerful energy, swearing to kill Gogeta. Ha ha ha! He laughed crazily as Purple Ki surged into the sky, and he charged toward Gogeta with overwhelming force. Gogeta glanced at him and said, "All right, I'm done playing." His fist suddenly exploded forward. Phew! His fist pierced through Gas's chest and emerged from his back. It had penetrated straight through Gas's body. In his palm, Gogeta clutched a still-beating heart. Gas looked down, stunned, at the arm that had penetrated his chest. Then, a gust of wind blew. His body turned to powder, carried away by the breeze. The heart in Gogeta's hand also vaporized, disappearing completely. Gogeta clapped his hands, suddenly feeling bored. So boring. Is this the end? Meruz thought, surprised. He had fought Gas before. Without using his angelic powers, Meruz had been at a disadvantage. He hadn't expected a mortal to defeat Gas so easily. It's incredible. After a few seconds of silence, the crowd erupted into loud cheers. Gogeta was awesome. Goten excitedly pulled on Sun Tzu's sleeve again. Sun Tzu, let's fuse. I want to fuse too. Sun Tzu remained unmoved. How about this, Sun Tzu, I'll give you the most awesome toy. Plus, I've got a money jar, and I've saved a lot of money. Deal. Sun Tzu smiled and shook Goten's hand. Goten. It felt like he'd been tricked. Gogeta flew toward everyone and landed firmly on the ground. He first glanced at Gohan, paused for a few seconds in thought, and then walked toward him. Gohan, first time meeting. I am Gogeta. Gohan was taken aback. He hadn't expected Gogeta to greet him like that. In theory, Gogeta was both Goku and Vegeta, meaning they should be very close. But in this moment, Gogeta felt like a completely new person. Gohan smiled and extended his hand. Hello, I'm Gohan. Nice to meet you. Gogeta smiled back. You were late, so I took care of that guy. You're very strong, Gohan acknowledged. You're strong too, Gogeta replied with a grin. Suddenly, the ground around them erupted. Gravel and sand began to rise into the air, quickly turning to powder and dissipating in the wind. Ripples of ki spread out from the two of them, centered on their handshake. They were smiling on the surface, but was this a challenge? The spectators were speechless. But given the warlike nature of Saiyan genes, it made sense. Gogeta wasn't just a fusion of Goku and Vegeta's power, his thirst for battle was also amplified. Whenever he saw a strong opponent, he had the urge to fight. Gohan glanced down at their clasped hands. Sparks of electricity flashed around their arms, and smoke began to rise. Chapter 206. Buzz. At that moment, a look of astonishment appeared on Gogeta's face. Oops, I played around for too long. Time's up. Then, he split in two and disintegrated. Gogeta transformed back into Goku and Vegeta. Both of them looked at each other in surprise, wearing strange expressions. Then they turned to Gohan. Gohan smiled and asked, Dad, Uncle Vegeta, how do you feel after the fusion? Goku raised his hand to scratch the back of his head and laughed, how should I put this? I don't really know. Vegeta shot him a glance, idiot cockroach. He then explained, after the fusion, the warrior that appears isn't one of us. He's a completely new warrior with a brand new personality, so we don't know how it feels. Gohan, intrigued, asked, Oh? Is that so? Don't you have any memories after the fusion? Well, a little bit, but not completely, Vegeta replied after thinking for a moment. Regardless, it was quite an eye-opener, Whis interjected. Mr. Vegeta and Mr. Goku fused into an incredibly powerful warrior. It's impressive, Beerus added, crossing his arms and tilting his chin. Gohan turned to Whis and asked, Master Whis, what is the origin of this guy? He couldn't have appeared out of nowhere, right? Although Gohan had seen glimpses of the situation through his precognitive abilities, the details were unclear, so he had to ask Whis for clarification. Well, Whis was about to use his scepter to reveal Gas's story. But Meruz stepped forward and said, Mr. Gohan, I know about him. His name was Gas, and he came from the Heater family. Their family is primarily engaged in intelligence gathering. They even colluded with Frisia back in the day. The Heater family provided a lot of planetary information to Frisia. Meruz spoke confidently, sharing everything he knew. Having worked in the Galactic Patrol Organization for decades, Meruz was deeply knowledgeable about key figures like the Heater Group. This Gas and his brother, Elec, destroyed our Galactic Patrol headquarters, allowing all the prisoners in the Galactic prison to escape. What's puzzling is that Gas wasn't this powerful before. Recently, his strength increased to a level I couldn't stop. That's because he borrowed power from the planet's serial Dragon Balls, Whis explained, picking up where Meruz left off. Elec overdrew nearly all of Gas's life force, boosting his combat power to the top of the universe, surpassing Mr. Goku and the others. That's why he became so powerful. As you saw, Gas eventually turned into a mummy, a sign of his life force being drained. If it hadn't been for the battle with Gogeta, he could have lived for a few more years. But Gogeta was far too strong. Gas exhausted the last of his life force. Even if Gogeta hadn't killed him, Gas would have died from the depletion of his own energy. Vados chuckled, covering her mouth. Mortals are so greedy. They take shortcuts but can't handle the consequences. Don't you agree, Mr. Meruz? She looked at Meruz meaningfully. Yes, Meruz nodded quickly, feeling a little embarrassed and awkward. It seemed Brother Whis and Sister Vados had recognized him. Among their angelic siblings, Whis and Vados were known for their high abilities. So, Meruz quietly walked over to them, lowering his head. Whis and Vados smiled knowingly. Gohan had figured it out too but pretended not to notice, continuing with the conversation. So, this Heater family is a dangerous organization, and they should be eliminated. I happen to have some free time, and I enjoy this sort of thing. Ha ha. Meruz was surprised and said, "Ah, Mr. Gohan is willing to take action? That would be fantastic. The Heater family should have been dealt with long ago, but our Galactic Patrol focuses on gathering evidence. We never took action, which led to the current situation, even the destruction of our headquarters." Gohan said, "Now that your patrol headquarters has been destroyed, this should be enough evidence, right?" Yes, that's more than enough, but there's another major issue. All the galactic prisoners have escaped and are working with the Heater family. I need to rebuild the Galactic Patrol and recapture all the escaped prisoners." Gohan glanced at him, looking confused. "No, Meruz, I have a question. Can't we just kill them all?" Kill them all? Meruz was momentarily stunned. Gohan continued, "Yes. Why bother capturing them? Isn't that just asking for more trouble? Most of the prisoners in the galactic prison were on death row anyway. Now that they've escaped and joined the Heaters, their crimes are even worse. No matter who they are, we can kill them directly. Capturing them is unnecessary." Meruz stood frozen on the spot, realizing that Gohan's argument made sense. Mr. Gohan has a point. However, our patrol is severely understaffed now. Almost all of our personnel were killed by gas, so it's a bit difficult. Only the Galactic King survived. Hey, we'd be happy to help. Goku raised his hand, excited at the prospect. Capturing, or chasing bad guys, it was something that still interested him. Hearing this, Vegeta added, "Count me in." Meruz hadn't expected this turn of events but was thrilled. He quickly agreed, "That's wonderful. I can make the three of you temporary Galactic Patrol officers and report it to the Galactic King." Gohan nodded. "Well, the top priority is to gather the Dragon Balls and restore the Earth. A lot of people died." He squatted next to a massive crater. Goodness, the hole went right through the Earth, emerging on the other side. Simply outrageous. And there was another crater just like it nearby. More than half of the Earth had been destroyed. Mr. Shenron will be going to be busy again. Chapter 207. Dragon Balls? I heard they are magical objects made by the Namekians. Is Mr. Gohan going to Namek? Meruz asked curiously. He didn't know that there were Dragon Balls on Earth. Gohan smiled and shook his head. No, the god of our Earth is a Namekian, and he also created a set of Dragon Balls. Meruz suddenly understood. I see. He had never expected that a Namekian would serve as Earth's god. Gohan then looked over at Android 16, who had been quietly standing in the background, and smiled. Despite not being a major force in the recent battles, Android 16 had stood up without hesitation when Earth was in danger. It turned out to be the right decision to keep him around. Although his strength couldn't influence the battle's outcome anymore, his heart and dedication were invaluable, just like many of the senior Z warriors, whose power had become insignificant compared to the enemies they faced, but they still fought hard without regard for their safety. Gohan patted Broly on the shoulder. The big guy had clearly endured a lot during the fight. At this moment, Broly's body was still covered in scars. Trunks, Uncle Piccolo, Majin Buu, and 7-3, they must have been killed by gas, Gohan muttered. After casting a healing spell on Broly, Gohan stood up and said, "Everyone, wait for me for a moment. I'll head to Bulma's to get the Dragon Ball radar and be back in no time." Whoosh! Gohan used instant transmission and disappeared. At Capsule Corp. Bulma was holding Bulla in her arms, pacing back and forth anxiously. Neither Trunks nor Vegeta had returned yet. In addition to that, the terrible explosions they'd felt from all over the Earth had shaken the world, causing collapses, tsunamis, and typhoons. With everything going on, it was easy to conclude that another disaster had struck and that a powerful enemy had invaded. She just didn't know what the situation was at this point. Bulla, noticing Bulma's anxiety, occasionally said a few comforting words. In truth, she was anxious too. She just didn't show it. Trunks, please come back safely. Bulma had prayed silently thousands of times in her heart. Now, the earth had calmed down. Presumably, the problem had been solved, and it was time for Trunks to return, right? Whoosh! A figure suddenly appeared out of thin air. Trunks, the women exclaimed in unison. But it wasn't Trunks, it was Gohan. It's Gohan. I thought it was Trunks, Bulma said, smiling as she held Bulla after seeing clearly who had arrived. Ha, Aunt Bulma, could you give me the Dragon Ball radar? Gohan asked. Oh, okay. Just a moment. Actually, there's no need for the radar. I've already gathered all the Dragon Balls. I'll give them to you, Bulma said. Bulma often did this, collecting the Dragon Balls in advance and keeping them at home. That way, when needed, it saved a lot of time from having to gather them all over again. That's great. Gohan was delighted. He had been worried that, with more than half of the Earth damaged, some Dragon Balls might have been destroyed. But now it seemed there was no need to worry, and he wouldn't have to make a trip to Namek after all. Wait a moment, Bulma said, putting down Bulla and heading inside the house. Brother Gohan, Bulla called sweetly, looking up at him, her eyes wide and innocent. Well, our Bulla is getting more and more beautiful, Gohan smiled as he squatted down, gently ruffling her soft hair. Hey, Bulla, let me show you a magic trick. Gohan spread his hands, and a stuffed doll appeared out of thin air. Here, he said, handing it to her. Bulla had seen this trick from Brother Gohan countless times before. Who didn't know he could pull objects out of another dimension? But even though she knew the secret, Bulla still acted surprised. She accepted the plush doll with a smile and kissed Gohan on the cheek. Hee, thank you, Brother Gohan, she said happily. Bulma, looking a bit worried, asked, Gohan, is Trunks alright? Yes, everything's fine. He'll be back soon, Gohan reassured her. Bulma breathed a sigh of relief after hearing Gohan's words. But she still felt a bit puzzled. If Trunks was fine, then why was Gohan asking for the Dragon Ball radar? Usually, Trunks handled that sort of thing. It seemed strange. After a short while, Bulma returned, handing Gohan a capsule. Here, the Dragon Balls are inside. Gohan took the capsule and said, Thank you, Aunt Bulma. I'll be going now, but I'll visit again when I have time. Alright, take care, Bulma nodded. Goodbye, Brother Gohan. Bulla waved enthusiastically. Goodbye, Bulla, Gohan replied with a smile, then teleported away. When Gohan returned, everyone gathered around him. He pressed the capsule and threw it on the ground. Boom! After a puff of white smoke, a storage bag appeared on the ground. Gohan knelt down, opened the bag, and poured out 7 orange Dragon Balls. Most of those present had seen the Dragon Balls before and were very familiar with them. But there were a few who were not. For example, Paragus, Maruz, and the 3 children. They all stared at the Dragon Balls with wide-eyed curiosity. Especially the 3 kids, who were eager to touch them. Brother, can this really summon a dragon? Goten asked excitedly. What does this dragon look like? Is it pretty? Or is it cute? Pan chimed in. Sun Tzu didn't speak but pinched his chin, already imagining himself riding a dragon in his mind. You'll see soon enough, Gohan replied with a smile. Everyone, please step back. I'm going to summon the dragon now. Upon hearing this, everyone took a step back. Gohan placed his hands on the Dragon Balls and shouted loudly, Come out, Shinran, and grant my wishes. Buzz. As soon as Gohan finished speaking, the 7 Dragon Balls began to glow with a brilliant golden light. Immediately after, black clouds rolled in from the sky, covering the heavens. In an instant, the earth turned from day to night. The golden light grew stronger and stronger before shooting into the sky. The black clouds overhead crackled with lightning and thunder. With a mighty roar, the golden beam of light materialized, transforming into a cyan dragon hundreds of meters long. The dragon coiled its massive body in the sky, its huge head peering down from the clouds. Its blood-red eyes flashed ominously as it spoke. "The mortal who summoned me, state your wish. As long as it is within my power, I shall grant you 3 wishes." After finishing, Shenron glanced at the crowd below. Then, it instinctively lowered its body. Suddenly, Shenron realized its voice had been too loud, and it regretted speaking from such a high place. TN * decided to change Bra to Bulla. Chapter 208. So many familiar faces. A god of destruction, several guiding angels. Even Shenron felt a bit panicked. Gohan thought for a moment, then looked up at Shenron and said, "Shenron, the Heater family has been wreaking havoc recently, killing people everywhere and throwing the universe into chaos. My first wish is to restore all the destruction caused by the Heater family. Can you restore the planets and their buildings?" Shenron. To be honest, Gohan seemed to be asking for 2 wishes in one. And this was on a universal scale, not just on Earth. That was a bit beyond his capability. However, Dent had enhanced Shenron's powers several times after studying abroad in the Supreme Kai realm. Now, his body was filled with more magical power. It didn't seem impossible. As for whether it was 1 wish or 2, Shenron looked at Lord Beerus, then at Gohan. Well, planets and their buildings could be considered part of the same thing, so we might as well treat it as 1 wish. The dragon lowered its noble head. "Let me give it a try," Shenron said. Buzz. Shenron's eyes flashed red. A miraculous power descended upon Earth, beginning to repair the damage and rebuild the destroyed buildings. In just a few moments, the Earth returned to its original state. Those who had never seen Shenron before were amazed, while the children's eyes lit up with excitement. Another wave of miraculous power shot through deep space, breaking the space barrier and reaching the location of the original Galactic Patrol headquarters. The Galactic Patrol headquarters and the Galactic Prison were also being rapidly rebuilt. Another ray of light rushed toward the distant planet Serial. After a few more moments, Shenron's blood-red eyes flashed once again, and it grumbled slightly, "The wish has been fulfilled. Now, state your second wish." It secretly wiped away some sweat. Never again would it underestimate the magnitude of these wishes. "Alright," Gohan nodded and continued, "for the second wish, I want you to resurrect the creatures that were killed due to the Heater family's actions recently." Life, creatures? Not just humans? Would that include bacteria and single-celled organisms? And it wasn't just people who were killed directly, but those who died as a result of the Heater family's actions. Shenron felt a little dizzy and realized the task was even more complicated. He felt that ever since he met Gohan, the wishes had become trickier, and his workload had increased significantly. Nobody in the past made wishes like this. "Alright, I'll do my best," Shenron nodded. Even a dragon knows when to bend to pressure. Just a few seconds later. Where gas had been scattered by the wind, Trunks, Piccolo, and Majin Buu suddenly reappeared. They were immediately aware that they had been resurrected. In other words, the danger posed by gas had passed. Looking toward the direction of Shenron, they saw Gohan, Goku, Vegeta, Broly, Beerus, 2 angels, and the rest of their companions. "Brother Gohan, Dad!" Trunks called as he flew toward the group. "Gohan!" Piccolo also looked at Gohan with excitement. Majin Buu jumped up and down behind Trunks. High in the sky near Kami's lookout, 7-3 was also resurrected. Many more people across Earth, who had died in the recent chaos, looked up in confusion, realizing they had been brought back to life. At the Galactic Patrol headquarters, the previously dead patrolman had also been revived. Jocko looked down at his body, shocked. "Wait, wasn't I dead? What just happened? Back on Earth. Okay, the second wish has been granted. Please state your third wish," Shenron said, though inwardly, it was hoping for something much simpler this time. Of course, Shenron hadn't been foolish enough to actually resurrect things like bacteria. It had cut some corners, but the animals that had died in the explosions on Earth had indeed come back to life. Gohan looked at the others and asked, "Alright, does anyone else have a wish?" The group exchanged glances. The children, in particular, looked hesitant to speak. Gohan chuckled, knowing what they were thinking. If you want toys, don't bother Shenron. I'll buy them for you myself. Shenron's heart leaped. Why? How can you say it's troublesome? It preferred those kinds of wishes. After all, it had once fulfilled a girl's wish to lose weight. How simple. Though that's what it thought, Shenron didn't dare say it aloud. Gohan asked again, does anyone have any other wishes? If there were no more wishes, Shenron could be dismissed, shortening its cooldown period by several months. At that moment, Broly, who had been silent the entire time, suddenly stepped forward. Can I make a wish? He looked at Gohan. Gohan smiled and nodded. Of course. Just tell me what you want. In fact, Gohan already had a pretty good idea of what Broly would wish for. Sure enough, Broly looked up at Shenron and said, please restore my father Paragus' youth. Okay, I understand. That's a simple matter. Buzz. Shenron's eyes flashed red again. A miraculous power fell upon Paragus. His previously hunched and frail body began to straighten and grow taller. The pale hair on his head rapidly turned black once more. Within a few seconds, Paragus had transformed from an old man into a young one. I've become younger? Paragus murmured, feeling the changes in his body. The sensation of having strength again and clear vision was wonderful. Paragus clenched his fists. At that moment, he felt renewed hope and excitement for life. He even had the urge to become stronger once again. Broly had made such a wish for him. Though Paragus didn't show much emotion on his face, inside, he was deeply moved. All right, your wishes have been granted. Farewell. Shenron's voice boomed. Immediately after, the dragon's body dissolved into golden light, shooting up into the sky. The 7 petrified dragon balls scattered in 7 different directions. The once clouded sky suddenly cleared, and bright sunlight poured down. Everything was full of life and hope once more. However, there were still many things to deal with. At that moment, a purple light descended from the sky. A figure suddenly appeared before everyone. It was Cooler. He had managed to cross the dimensions in his physical form. Everyone looked at him, surprised. Hee, long time no see, everyone. Cooler smiled and walked toward the group. Long time no see, Cooler, Goku called out, waving enthusiastically. Yeah, long time no see. Cooler's fist suddenly shot through the air, striking Goku squarely in the abdomen. Chapter 209. What are you doing? Goku was startled as his body instinctively triggered the mastered Ultra Instinct. Silver flames flickered around him. However, what happened next shocked everyone. Goku, who should have automatically dodged the attack, failed to avoid Cooler's fist. Bang! Goku was blown away like a cannonball, rolling on the ground several times before struggling to get up. He crouched down, clutching his abdomen, and coughed up blood. Goku looked at Cooler, incredulous. He had been caught off guard. Cooler had been smiling 1 second, and then, in the next, he launched a sudden attack. But even with the surprise, Goku was in his mastered Ultra Instinct form. There was no reason he should have been struck so easily, let alone sent flying by a single punch from Cooler. How can this be? What's more, Cooler hadn't even transformed into his golden form. Cooler glanced at Goku and smirked, it seems I've become far stronger. Goku, you've grown weaker compared to me. That strong confidence reminded Cooler of the time when he first came to Earth. Back then, in his golden form, he could have killed Goku with a single punch, although at that time, Goku was only able to become Super Saiyan 3. Now, though they had all reached the realm of gods, Cooler had just proven he could still overpower Goku with one blow, making him cough up blood. Everything is back to the way it was. But Cooler's real target wasn't Goku, it was Gohan. This hateful Saiyan had humiliated him countless times before. Today, I'll finally have my revenge. Cooler was already imagining Gohan lying crushed beneath his feet. Kakarot, what are you doing? Is this some kind of joke? Vegeta's face flashed with confusion before he scolded Goku. Cooler, why did you suddenly attack? Aren't we all allies now? Trunks stepped forward to stand beside Vegeta, instantly transforming into his Super Saiyan 4 God form. Goku! He took a deep breath, barely managing to suppress the pain in his abdomen, and stood up. The silver flames around him burned brighter, and his silver hair swayed in the wind. Cooler sneered, allies? I've never been anyone's ally. The only reason I agreed to join the Tournament of Power was for the reward of resurrection. Don't get it twisted. Now, move aside, fools. My target today is Gohan. If you're smart, you'll stay out of this. But if you're asking for a beating, I'll be more than happy to loosen your bones. Gohan. Is this guy really still holding a grudge? It's been years, and he's still stewing over it. Vegeta laughed angrily at Cooler's arrogance. You sure have a big mouth. Let's see if you can back it up. I'd love to know how you plan to loosen my bones. As he spoke, deep purple flames ignited around Vegeta, and he instantly activated his Ultra Ego form. Really? Cooler grinned, revealing his sharp, white teeth. He clenched his fists, and purple-black flames erupted from his body. Boom! A massive surge of black ki enveloped him. In an instant, Cooler's entire appearance changed. His body gleamed with black and gold light. His skin, once white and purple, now shimmered with dazzling silver and black. The sheer pressure he emitted was overwhelming, and even Beerus frowned, shaken by it. What is this? Everyone stood in stunned silence. Before they could react, Cooler flashed through the air and appeared in front of Vegeta and Trunks. His muscles bulged, and he punched with both fists. Vegeta and Trunks didn't even have time to respond. A sharp pain shot through their abdomens, and a loud bang echoed in their ears. Father and son were sent flying, their faces twisted in pain, and their transformations faded as they returned to their base forms. They crashed into the ground, raising clouds of dust, struggling but unable to get back on their feet. One punch. Cooler had incapacitated Vegeta and Trunks with a single blow, leaving them unable to continue fighting. This. Vegeta. Trunks. Goku shouted and charged at Cooler once more. But just like before, after 2 punches from Cooler, Goku was forced out of his Ultra Instinct form and collapsed, unable to fight. Ugh. Gohan stood there, unsure of what to make of the situation. He calmly walked over to Goku, casting a healing spell that instantly restored him. Vegeta and Trunks were also given senzu beans and recovered quickly. But when they looked at Cooler, their eyes were filled with shock. Cooler was even more terrifying than gas. They hadn't even stood a chance against him. Outrageous. Gohan turned to Cooler and said, "Did you get your body dyed? Where did you go for that?" Dyed? Cooler's expression twitched, and he glared at Gohan. I spent 10 years training in the hyperbolic time chamber to achieve this transformation. How does it feel? Are you scared? It's dark, but it doesn't seem all that special, Gohan replied, putting his hands on his hips with a grin. Humph, we'll see who's laughing soon. The humiliation you caused me will be repaid 100-fold today, Cooler sneered. Gohan, don't try to run. Fight me in a duel. I never said I was running. Let's do this, Gohan said nonchalantly, his tone irritating Cooler even more. It felt like punching cotton, no effect at all. Fine. Let's do this, Cooler gritted his teeth, his patience running thin. With the duel set, everyone stepped back instinctively, ready to watch the battle. After witnessing Cooler's performance, they were genuinely concerned about Gohan's chances. Goku, still a bit worried, said, I don't know if Gohan can win. Cooler's gotten so strong. He'll win, Krillin said confidently. Gohan hasn't lost a fight since the androids. Yes, I believe Gohan can win, Yamcha agreed. Gohan never fights a battle he's uncertain about. He knows what he's doing, Vegeta added, giving a rare compliment. This caught the attention of the others. Brother Gohan, beat that guy. Trunks shouted, clenching his fist in encouragement. Heh, things are getting interesting. I want to see how strong Gohan has become, Beerus said, his eyes fixed on Gohan as he prepared for the fight. Chapter 210. Cooler and Gohan stood across from each other, their powerful ki filling the air with intensity. A strong wind blew across the battlefield, causing Gohan's clothes to flutter in the breeze. The tension in the atmosphere was palpable, and everyone watching the duel opened their eyes wide in anticipation of what was to come. Gohan, if you lose, I expect you to kneel and apologize to me. Cooler's voice was cold and dripping with malice. Ha, what kind of joke is that? Lose? Sorry, I haven't considered that possibility, Gohan responded with a confident smile. Ha, laugh all you want. Just don't start crying later. Go ahead, transform, use your strongest form, Cooler sneered, already planning how he would humiliate Gohan after his inevitable victory. As long as Gohan was defeated, no one would be able to stop him. Not even the god of destruction or the angels concerned him. He had come too far for that. Just you wait, Gohan. I'll beat you down so hard, your wife will look at you with disgust. Cooler's mind was racing with thoughts of revenge, and the corners of his mouth curled into a smug grin. Gohan glanced at Cooler, noticing his grin and feeling the urge to wipe it off his face. I don't know which form to choose right now. Let's start with a small transformation, Super Saiyan 4, Gohan said casually. As he spoke, he clenched his fists, his ki flaring up as he transformed into Super Saiyan 4. Cooler's face twisted with rage. You arrogant fool! You're looking down on me? Super Saiyan 4? That transformation was far below the forms they were capable of now. It was the form Gohan had used to kill him back then. This is an insult. Cooler gritted his teeth. He was determined to make Gohan pay for this humiliation. He would show Gohan the true power of his new black form and teach him a lesson in respect. Gohan noticed Cooler's knees bend slightly as black and purple ki erupted around him. Boom! The ground beneath Cooler's feet exploded as he launched himself toward Gohan with incredible speed. Cooler wasn't flying, he was running, faster than light itself. His speed was so intense that it surpassed even teleportation. In just a fraction of a second, Cooler's fist, brimming with black ki, was about to collide with Gohan's face. But at the last moment, Gohan's hand shot up to block the punch. Cooler's fist slammed into Gohan's palm with a thunderous boom, and the resulting shockwave cracked the ground beneath them. The force of the impact caused Gohan to slide back, leaving craters with each step as the ground buckled under the pressure. After retreating several meters, Gohan finally came to a stop. Cooler, you idiot. I just used the Dragon Balls to repair the Earth. Be more careful. Gohan scolded. Cooler's expression darkened. He blocked my punch? In that form? Goku and the others, watching from the sidelines, were just as shocked. They had struggled against Cooler even while using their strongest forms, yet Gohan had blocked the attack effortlessly as Super Saiyan 4. The realization hit them all at once. Gohan's power was on a whole different level, even in this form. Unbelievable, but then again, this is Gohan, they thought. Shut up! Cooler roared, enraged. His muscles bulged as he unleashed a relentless barrage of punches, his fists crashing into Gohan like a storm. Bang 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 bang! Cooler's fists, fast and powerful, struck Gohan with unrelenting force, creating sparks and clouds of dust with every hit. But despite the ferocity of the attack, Gohan managed to block every blow. The force was enough to overwhelm Goku and Vegeta, but it only made Gohan take a few steps back. Cooler's rage boiled over as he roared, "Aha!" Suddenly, his form began to change again. His ki grew more violent, his body expanding as hard armor sprouted from his skin, sharp barbs forming at his elbows and leg joints. A mask covered his face, and tentacles stretched from the top of his head. Cooler's new form was taller, stronger, and even more menacing. Gohan, go to hell! Cooler bellowed. He rose into the air, raising his arm as a black and purple ki blast formed in the sky, growing into an enormous mass that blotted out the sun. 100x supernova. Gohan's eyes twitched. Damn it, not again with destroying the Earth. Everyone watching was terrified. There was nowhere to run. If that ki blast hit, the Earth would be obliterated, and they would all perish. Ha! Gohan shouted, his silver-purple flames erupting as he transformed into beast form. There was no way to stop the 100x supernova in Super Saiyan 4. In his beast form, Gohan leaped into the sky and kicked upward. Though Gohan's figure looked insignificant next to the massive supernova, his kick twisted and deformed the giant ball of energy, sending it soaring into space, where it vanished without a trace. Cooler stared in disbelief. How? His body trembled as the realization hit him. Gohan had neutralized his most powerful attack as if it were nothing. Before Cooler could react, Gohan moved at lightning speed, his hand outstretched toward him. Cooler's pupils dilated as the massive hand closed in, too fast for him to avoid. Danger! But it was too late. Gohan's hand grabbed Cooler's face. In the shocked eyes of everyone watching, Gohan stepped through the air, dunked down, and smashed Cooler's head into the ground. Boom! The earth quaked as a massive sandstorm rose hundreds of meters into the sky. A deep crater, miles wide, formed in the ground. At the center of the pit, Cooler's upper body was buried in the soil, his legs sticking out and trembling slightly in the air. *TN, my theory is that Gohan's base form has become so much stronger, and since transformations simply multiply the user's base power, Gohan's transformations are far more powerful now. That wraps up this part of What If Reborn is Gohan in Future Timeline. Thanks so much for listening. As always, new parts drop every 4 days, so be sure to stay tuned. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and please consider supporting the original author as well. See you in the next one.